Greetings and welcome to another Tomorrow's World webcast. My name is Wallace Smith, and the story I have to share with you today is atrocious. I like sharing good stories every once in a while also, but today is not the day. Actually, one of my colleagues here in our Charlotte office, Mr. Jim Meredith, passed this on to me, and I do want to pass it on to you. Actually, this article comes from the website of a television station, kjct8.com, out of Colorado. It was originally published March 23rd. It was updated on March 24th. And I'll just read the title for you. Atheist and Satanic Literature to be distributed in Delta County schools. It's hard to make up a title that grabs attention more than something like that. I'm just going to read the first couple of paragraphs. It says, some Delta parents are in an uproar after both atheist and satanic literature will be distributed in Delta County high schools and middle schools on April 1st. The Western Colorado Atheists and Free Thinkers say they are working with the Freedom from Religion Foundation to offer Delta students alternative ways of thinking. Indeed. We'll read just the next paragraph. It says, the Delta County School District says that their policy reads that they cannot discriminate against any groups or organizations when it comes to non-curricular materials. The only exceptions are if the material promotes hostility or violence, commercial purposes by advertising a product, interferes with the schools, promotes candidacy in an election, or is obscene or pornographic, according to a press release by the Delta School District. Now, I'm not going to take the time to parse through all the things they said there because in a lot of ways, materials like this do this. In fact, I won't describe in detail some of the materials they show. Actually, the article did show an image of a, if I understand the way the school is going to handle it, they're going to have a table available somewhere. They were going to actually physically hand out a copy of all this literature to all these students, but they were going to have a table available where this literature is laid out and students can come by at their own will and just pick up some material, apparently in response to the work of groups like the Gideons that hand out Bibles in schools. So anyway, with that, really part of the problem here, there's so many, is what's the definition of obscene? Actually, I would say this material is quite obscene, but obscene is up in the air these days. If they indeed did hand out one of the brochures shown in this picture, it's a terrible picture that actually shows, as best I can describe it, a cartoon version of the Bible, like a giant Bible with a face on it and arms and legs, actually molesting a woman. How in the world is something like that not obscene? It's certainly blasphemous. You know, does this material promote hostility or violence? You know, if you look at what these attitudes are doing in our culture, I would certainly say so. In fact, why can't the school discern something and says, well, this is causing the general degradation of our society, and so, yeah, we're not going to promote that. You know, we don't handle policy here, and I've mentioned this a lot of times on the webcast. We don't get into politics and all of that because that's not what God has called us for. He's called us apart from that to give His own witness about the events of the day and things like this. But I was grabbed when it said the policy of the school district was that they cannot discriminate against any groups or organizations, etc. You know, if you look at the generalization of the word discriminate, it just means to distinguish between one thing or another. And it reminded me of a passage in the Bible. Actually, in prophecy, in the book of Ezekiel, God talks about the failure of the leaders of Israel to come in the future, which really is our day, and their failure to do exactly this. They're either ignorant actions or their utter refusal to distinguish between two sets of things. We read about it in Ezekiel in chapter 22 in verse 26. Speaking of Israel, he says, her priests have violated my law and profaned my holy things. They have not distinguished between the holy and the unholy, nor have they made known the difference between the unclean and the clean. And they have hidden their eyes from my Sabbaths, so that I am profaned among them. When I saw this article, this verse just leapt out at me. That's exactly what our leaders and administrators are refusing to do, to distinguish between the clean and the unclean, the holy and the unholy, here in the realm of our most vulnerable of citizens, our children. Our children. In fact, when he talks about how because of this, I am profaned among them, and I look at that booklet that shows some cartoon version of the Bible abusing a young woman, then yes, God's name is profaned by this unwillingness of our leadership, our educators, our priests, if you will, to distinguish between the clean and the unclean, the holy and the unholy. If we look around in our culture and we see things sliding, let's not pretend that things like this don't make a difference, because they do. Thank you for watching our webcast. Please take a look at all we have available at tomorrowsworld.org.